So yes, it is the town hall, state of the university, and question and answer. I like to do this every semester, where I give you just a quick update on some things that are happening, and then we spend some time in Q&A. So if you don't have Q's, we won't have very many A's, and this will be too short. So I'm not interested in that, But as I think about this, always we want to be rooted in Scripture in everything we do. And thinking about it as we talk about it this year, this semester, I'm thinking about Esther 4:14. And you know the story of Esther. You know the account that took place there, where the entire Jewish people were threatened. Their existence was threatened, and God had placed one woman in a spot where she could make a difference. And her uncle counsels her and says these words in Esther 4:14, "If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this." So in other words, Mordecai was saying God is going to bring about his purpose. He's going to fulfill his plan. He'll just use someone else to do it. And as we think about the responsibilities and the stewardships that God has given us, He doesn't need me and He doesn't need you. And so as we think about faithfulness, it's not about being needed, it's about being faithful. So God has given us a tremendous window of opportunity. He's given you a tremendous window of opportunity. And He can use someone else to do it, but He's placed you there. He's placed us there. And as Mordecai is talking to Esther, he says, for such a time as this, it was this moment that she could exert this influence and make a difference and save lives. And you may not feel that sense of urgency in your own life. It's there. God has placed you in the moment, you in the situation, to make a difference and make the most of that moment. And Calvary University is placed here in this moment to make a difference. And so we want to be faithful with that. So some commitments that we have, of course, Calvary's mission. I'm going to just focus on this highlighted yellow part right in the middle. We're preparing Christians to live and serve in the church and the world according to the biblical worldview. This is our core commitment. There are lots of ways we do that, but there are 4 specific distinctives that we are committed to. In every decision we make, that we're committed to holding up these principles. First of all, standing firm on the Scriptures. It's all about the Bible. It's all about the Bible. It's God's revealed Word. He's communicated to us. It's authoritative. It's sufficient. We don't want to stray from His Word. Second, we're committed to high quality and low cost. And that's not 2 separate distinctives. That's one and the same. We believe you have to be able to do them both together. Quality doesn't necessarily have to be associated with a high cost. So it requires some creativity, and it's very challenging. By the way, it's almost impossible, but we're committed to accomplishing this. Third, excellent marketable education. We're trying to position you all to have opportunities at the highest level, both while you're here and then when you finish. So that's very important. And then finally, number 4, we're committed to this being a place for your growth, for you to have opportunity, not just to take some classes or be in a program, but to grow, to have that environment, have those opportunities around you. So these 4 distinctives, we're reading into everything we're doing, every decision we're making, we're thinking about those aspects. So let me give you a quick update, highlight a couple of things that are new, and then talk about what's ahead, what's coming. So first of all, just a little status report. First of all, a 0 tuition increase in the last 3.5 years. That's a really big deal and almost impossible. 3.5 years ago, we lowered tuition, and we haven't raised it since, and we have no plans to. We have a commitment not to, in fact. So we're doing a lot of different things to keep that low. In fact, we've even lowered some tuition rates this past year. Second, God has blessed us with 7 straight semesters of enrollment growth. That's pretty awesome to see that the number of students that are choosing Calvary is growing and growing and growing, and we're close. We're not quite there, but we're close to, and I think we will be by January, we're close to doubling in the last 3.5 years, just overall student body. So God is blessing with growth. And of course, we know that we water and we plant and we water, but it's ultimately God who causes the growth. And you guys have a lot to do with that. It's why these town halls are so important. The student surveys, all the opportunities you have to let us hear your voice is very important. We're trying to serve. We're trying to be faithful in that service to you. God is blessed with growth. We've just finished our 3rd straight year in the black, which is very encouraging. God has provided resources for that to happen. But that doesn't mean it's easy, and it doesn't mean that financially everything is just peachy. A 4th aspect here is we're facing increasingly tight financial challenges. It's just a very different environment than it was 5 or 10 years ago. So one of the responsibilities we have is to make sure we're managing the dollars and the resources that we have very, very well as they get tighter and tighter. Because guess what? If you're not paying more tuition, everything is still getting more expensive. So where does that come from? Well, that's not an easy question to ask. So I want to encourage you, help us look through your eyes so that we can understand your perspective as we're here to serve you, but also keep us in prayer because it's hard to do what we're doing. It's hard to do. A lot of people are committed to doing it well. And then number 5, we've been emphasizing in this past maybe 18 months and moving forward, emphasizing multi-vocational prep. That means trying to make sure you have access to broad equipping and not just for one specific area only. And one of the ways that takes shape is in the Warrior's Choice interdisciplinary program, which some of you are involved in. But the idea of getting a major and then having a couple of minors that complement that, because there are fewer and fewer full-time ministry opportunities available that don't come with some kind of bivocational responsibility and need. And I want to encourage you to be thinking that way. Whether you do a bachelor's in one area and a master's in another area, be thinking about how I can utilize the skills and the tools that God has given me and develop those so that I can provide well, so that I can meet responsibilities, so that I can minister and serve others as well. So that's kind of just a little snapshot. Obviously, there's just a few highlights. But second, what's new? What are some new things? And again, for freshmen, you probably won't see the contrast here, but for those of you who are not, you will see this. You will have noticed. Obviously, first of all, the various campus improvements, the chairs. This is a really fun addition. I think freshmen, you got to see this for about a week or two, right? But the seniors have been dealing with these chairs for their entire career, so this is something that they get to enjoy in the last year. But just makes a difference in this room. But it's very expensive, right? The parking lots, having those all blacktopped and greatly improved. You're seeing improvements like that, and it's exciting to see. Along with the growth, God is allowing us to do some things here and there to make the campus better and just more workable. We've done some departmental streamlining in 2 specific departments. One is enrollment management, trying to streamline your processes, the things that you have to go through as students to get enrolled and register, and how you deal with financial aid and how you deal with all these departments to be able to make it a smoother process for you. So we've put all that under one roof. And this is a new thing for us, having advising, financial aid, admissions all under that one roof. It's a new thing, and there's obviously growing pains, but I hope you're beginning to see things smooth out a little bit in those processes for you. And then also student development. Once upon a time was student services, very, very committed to discipleship, but with the switch to student development, an even greater focus than ever on giving you opportunities and pouring into you with a discipleship focus, because that's our mission. So we're really excited about those two kind of streamlined departments and how those are functioning. And obviously, we want to continue to get better and better in serving you, but those two departments that we've kind of reshaped a little bit. Third, we've changed some of our delivery and structure. Live streaming, now almost all the classes are live streamed. So you have now 3 ways you can digest these courses. 1, in real time in the classroom. 2, real time outside the classroom. And then 3, catching the lectures that are recorded. So live streaming adds the flexibility to that for you. The block scheduling is intended to create more opportunities for you. I know it's hard to get used to 3-hour classes across the board, but the idea is to create more time for you to do other things like internships in ministry and work, so that you can avoid student debt as much as possible. So these are new things. We also have just this fall officially have launched a STEM program. We're launching it fairly quietly with just a few additional courses, but we've got some new faculty sitting in the back. Chris Basil coming on full-time, as full-time faculty here. We're really grateful for Chris, for Mr. Basil. And we've also launched a BA and MDiv in 5 years. Now, this is really strategic. This means that students can come in and start the bachelor's degree, take some MDiv courses as they're doing this. Instead of the lower level courses, take the upper level courses, and in 5 years they've got both the undergraduate and the master's degree. That's absolutely crazy to have an MDiv and a bachelor's in 5 years. And this one will come up in a minute when I talk about what's coming in the future. And then number 6, what's new? Partnerships. We've always been very actively engaged with other ministries and other entities. There are a couple of major partnerships that we've recently launched or bolstered. One is with Word of Life Bible Institute, based out of New York, but they're in, I think, 39 locations, 2 in the United States and then 37 around the world internationally. And these don't just provide opportunities for faculty and staff and for Word of Life students. It provides opportunities for you as well. We'll be talking about more of what those look like as we go. And Child Evangelism Fellowship, tremendous partnership with them. We now have a teaching site that's active with them over in Warrenton that'll have some undergraduate programs as well as graduate. So again, there's opportunities that we'll be talking to you about with CEF. So some interesting things happening there. And then what's on the road ahead? Again, just a few highlights. I mentioned the BA and MDiv that we've formally launched that, but we're going to look at other undergrad and grad consolidations for shorter programs, because it's so important that you get a master's qualification. Really encourage you to do that. And if we can structure our undergraduate programs to help you where you're doing both at the same time, we believe there's some room to do that. So we're going to be working on that across the curriculum and be bringing some things to you as we go. The second is third stream opportunities. What is a third stream? Well, this is talking about revenue generation. First stream is student revenue. It's the tuition dollars that you pay. Second stream is donor revenue. It's those that support and subsidize your education with their giving and generosity. Third stream is auxiliary income. It's like business. And we are committed to slowly decreasing our student revenue, increasing our overall student body, but decreasing our student revenue. Why? Because we want it to cost you less and less as we go. We're committed to that, okay? It's part of our second distinctive. The climate, the environment is difficult for donors. It's more and more difficult than it's been in a long time, but at the same time, there's more money out there. So we're very active in recruiting new donors and engaging them, and we've had some really tremendous things develop. Just one example, we've had an anonymous donor underwrite because of the quality of our biblical counseling program, underwrite the department chair position for our biblical counseling program. So we're going to be working to see those kinds of partnerships and developing the second stream, donor income, so that we can put less burden on students. But the third stream is where we're focused perhaps more than anything, and that is creating business opportunities that allow the school to be engaged and allow you as students to be engaged. And you saw a little hint of this with kind of the restructuring of the Warrior Cafe and how we're doing some things there with now that's under the business department. And you're seeing some real creativity happening. And so we'll be doing some other things. I wish I could talk to you about some of these potentials, but I can't. I can't even mention generalities to you. Just know we're working on them, and we'll have some things to talk to you about soon. Third, we are pursuing IRCs, or industry-required certifications, looking at various programs and what industries are requiring so that we can bring those certifications into the degree programs that you have. So we're working on some of those. Again, nothing to report yet, but these are things that are coming. Fourth, Calvary University TV is under development. And that's going to be kind of imagine Netflix or Amazon Prime for Calvary content and related content, to be able to access it that way, and to be able to be involved in productions and be involved in developing content. So that's on its way, being developed as we speak. Number 5, Calvary University Press. Calvary University Press, we've been working on for a while. We now have a director, and we're moving forward with developing that. That's going to create opportunities for the staff and faculty to be engaged in writing and developing textbooks. It's going to create opportunities for you as students to be able to get published as you're doing significant writing. So, by the way, every time you write a paper, I always counsel students to think this way. Be efficient. Think of the future. You one day want to use that paper. Don't just write a paper to be done with the paper. Think about it in terms of this could be published. Put everything you can into that work. Get the most out of it, because it'll have use for you later. Calvary University Press will be part of that. And then there's IJOBA. I'll give you $1 million, anyone who can tell me what that stands for, who doesn't work for Calvary. Okay. It was an empty offer anyway. The Interdisciplinary Journal on Biblical Authority. It's an academic journal engaging every one of these departments and disciplines, looking at them through the biblical worldview. And it'll involve a lot of different schools, a lot of different teachers and professionals and people in ministry all over the world. So that's going to be an opportunity for you as students to get involved in. Talk more about that. And then continuing reaching out for partnerships, both for the programs that we have, the academic programs that we have, but also for job and ministry opportunities. We truly want to create for you an opportunity where you come to school here and you have ministry opportunities and job opportunities that you're actually having to turn some down. So we're working on those kinds of things. So those are just a few highlights of where we are, some new things, and what's coming. And I want to save time, which we have done, for some Q&A. So hashtag Calvary questions, and not necessarily in that order. Or just raise your hand and let's go. This is your time. Again, I'm hoping that you will feel free to communicate, ask questions, critiques, confusions, and John will address all of those.
Right. Through Dr. Cohn. No. So first question, block scheduling and 8-week courses. They seem to be causing issues with classes that typically take more time to digest, such as the languages, math, etc. Are there plans to adjust these courses so they're more practical in this new time frame, or reconvert them to 16 weeks?
It's a great question. So first of all, everything we do, we're constantly doing assessment. Some of it you see, some of it you don't. But on multiple levels, we're doing assessment. So we don't ever just throw something out there and then we're done and we move on, ever. So block scheduling and the 8-week course structure, all the research is showing that it's better. When we look at specific schools that have done it, it works better for students. It's better for students. But it's a real challenge to get used to. And it's a challenge for faculty to get used to. Teachers who have taught for 16 weeks particular course content, we're giving you the opportunity to get the same amount of credit in half the time. So it accelerates your ability to learn and to get through your programs, ultimately lessening your cost. But it is a transition. It's a difficult transition. And so you have the ability as students in every class, you do the survey at the end, we take that very seriously. We do a lot of work with that information. And so we need to know how you're thinking of these things. Big picture, the 8-week structure is very important because it keeps you as students out of the traditional lockdown of the 16-week schedule. You've got more days freed up, more time freed up, and the learning, again, the 8-week schedule is nothing new for a lot of schools. I've been involved in this with other schools for the last 15 years. So in a sense, Calvary's has been a little bit behind the times in that, and at the same time, I think probably about 40% of the classes have been in an 8-week structure with more non-traditional students. What we're trying to do is give you, the more quote-unquote traditional students, the advantages of that non-traditional structure. So there are some classes where it's more difficult, and it's really and truly incumbent upon the faculty to make sure they have selected the appropriate content that you need and give that to you in a way you can digest. Whether it's languages, math, or worldview, or Bible, whatever the course material is. So this is a transition and a process for our faculty as well, and they've adjusted tremendously. I mean, they've gone through more change in the past couple of years than is normal at any school, and they've done really well. But we all have to grow with that. So the short answer is our faculty have to continue to grow and adjust. For those of you who've had 16-week, you're going to be adjusting, and administratively, we're also looking at constantly how can we improve. Good question.
So I'm gonna throw kind of combine two questions. They're very similar, so the asking of it may be a little odd. So the SEB, the Special Events Building, and Philly, the Student Events Building is mold-ridden, and Philly is full of mold, mildew, and bugs. So what's the long-term plan for relocating theater props, and are there any plans to recover the apartments or find better housing for our married students?
That's very good. So I'll start with Philly Hall. Philly Hall is on the short list to be replaced. The challenge is it's very, very, very expensive to do so. So we're working and talking through how to best do that, but absolutely we know it's a need. That building is going to be replaced at some point. The Special Events Building, on the other, by the way, the Philly Hall, new Philly Hall is in our strategic plan, so it's been in the works for quite some time. The Special Events Building, I suspect that by this time next year, that building won't be there. That building is kind of beyond repair. The cost to repair that is close enough to the cost of new construction that we're probably looking at new construction. Again, very, very costly, but we're working on that as well. There are a few major things on campus we're going to have to do fairly quickly. With the SEB, what we'd like to do is replace that with a welcome center, which would be kind of a new student life hub where enrollment management and student development would be housed. Warrior Cafe, student lounge, kind of all new facilities for that, which would free up some of the other space that we have to allow theater to do their thing and and several different configurations like that. So again, these aren't imminent. Doing something with the special events building is fairly imminent. We've got to do something with that. It's in disrepair, and it's on our list, and we're actually working on writing some grants to be able to do that. We're hoping to do that quickly. The new facility, though, is probably years away, 2 to 3 years, and we haven't even begun the planning stages, the architectural and all of that, but that's coming. Hopefully this academic year we'll be getting into that. So it moves a little bit slower because you're talking millions of dollars, right? So these things move a little bit slower, but we're active in acquiring grants to deal with that and to raise some support. So you'll hear about a campaign coming up to deal with one or both of these facilities. We haven't yet nailed down which comes first.
So rumors are spreading about the funding/building for the Colorado campus. What's going on over there?
The Colorado campus. So overview on Colorado. We've been there almost 2 years and have seen quite a bit of growth there. We also have, and I can't believe I omitted this from the What's New section, we've launched Calvary University Academy over there, that's K through 12, and our design is that we would involve our education department students and faculty from here to be able to go over there and have some involvement in that and development of that program. So we're going full steam ahead with the K through 12 there, and it's going well. That unit has tripled in student attendance enrollment since Riverview Christian School moved on our campus. We've merged essentially with Riverview Christian School to launch the academy. And going there, we were anticipating offering all of our programs right away, within a few weeks, having the approvals we would need. The challenge is the Colorado Department of Higher Education has elongated a process. Something we expected would take a few weeks is now almost taken 2 years. So we are able to offer our Bible, ministry, biblical counseling courses, but we're not able to offer the 2 major programs that people in that area were really clamoring for, education and business. So it's really, really hurt us. It's probably cost us, not being able to offer those 2 programs probably cost us $1 million. It's been very, very painful. We're working through that process. We think we're hopefully a couple of months away as opposed to another couple of years away, but we don't control that. We've done everything we've been asked to do 6 times, and it just keeps going through this process. So what we've done, a part of the third stream for us is Calvary has a lot of resources, a lot of real estate, and we, as part of the strategic purpose out there in Colorado, is to acquire some real estate. So we have one piece of property that we're selling. There's actually a contract on that'll close in, I think, a few weeks. And that's the field that's in front of the campus. That will sell. We have the building itself on the market. I don't anticipate that will sell anytime soon, but it is on the market, and if we're able to sell it, we would purchase other facilities on a much smaller scale, have a smaller footprint, and be able to grow more slowly. If we can't sell that facility, then we'll just keep growing it and operating it, and we have some third stream ideas that I think by the next time we have this discussion, the next town hall in the spring, I'll be able to talk to you about something we've launched that you will be excited about. So things are going well, but there are major, major obstacles. And again, being held up by the Department of Higher Ed out there, again, it's cost us $1 million at least. And so that hurts everywhere. Because if we're able to offer the programs there, it's not like that's a separate unit. We're all connected here, right? And so when one area does well, the other area does well, and we need to be doing well out there, and it's growing. The folks are doing a great job out there. Well, we've got that major obstacle. So keep that in prayer, and hopefully we have that resolved here in the next few weeks or couple of months.
Talking about prayer, what would you say are the top 3 prayer requests for Calvary as a whole?
I always would start with unity. That would be number 1. We have unity. Ephesians 4 tells us we have unity. But we're told to preserve that unity and the bond of peace. And I think sometimes, especially as you grow and environments change, it's real easy to, as we're all working hard, to have conflict. And those things will come, but when they come, we've got to resolve them as brothers and sisters in Christ. That's the number one enemy of success in ministry, is broken unity. So we're always on guard against that. So that would be number one. Number two would be just money. Money is always a challenge. It has been for the 87 years of Calvary's existence so far, and I know it'll continue to be, because what we're trying to do is not be profitable. We're trying to serve you with the lowest possible cost to you, and to not raise tuition and have these commitments to lowering rates. I'm telling you, it's impossible. But yet God has provided, and so we rely on Him. That's obviously the greatest tangible need that we would face, is just the daily finances. It's a grind. A lot of people working really hard, a lot of generosity to provide these various things, but it is very, very difficult. So that would be a second major area. The third would be, I would just use the word faithfulness, that we as leaders and staff and faculty would serve you faithfully, would be faithful to the mission that God has given us, and that you, as students and as brothers and sisters, will be faithful to the task that God has given. So I think those are the three major things. Probably think of others.
So, kind of drawing back, I'm going to do 2 Colorado questions in a row here, and I'll just, I think I'll ask them back to back, let you answer the first one, then ask the second one, I'll let you answer.
Great.
It's a little different. Says, I've been to the Colorado campus, and they have nice new desks not being in use, new furniture peppered throughout the building. Why can't home campus get treated like that?
That's a good question. Home campus is treated like that. The Sabre is renovated and virtually brand new. This building is virtually brand new. The library is brand new to the campus within the last year. I mentioned parking lots. The East Ed, all new technology in the classes. The one thing that we don't have in the classrooms is brand new tables and chairs. But I'm hoping that you can see these improvements throughout the campus and these other resources. In Colorado, what was there was elementary school chairs and desks. Absolutely not viable, so we had to get new stuff. We went to Big Lots. Ever heard of Big Lots? Well, you know, the quality of their stuff is not the highest, but their prices are pretty close to the lowest. So we bought a lot of bulk stuff from Big Lots just to be functional. And it kind of proves the adage, you don't have to spend a lot of money to look good. There are a lot of ways, if you're fiscally wise, you can improve appearance and functionality. The challenge is here, there are 21 different classrooms that we have to outfit. If we decide we're going to put in new chairs, we're not just talking about 100 chairs. So it's a much bigger deal. This campus costs us, in the past 2 years, if you're comparing the cost, it's probably about a 4-to-1 cost differential. And our efforts in Colorado have brought in about between 60 and 70 students overall that have come through those efforts. Now, many are here, some are online, and there are a few out there in Colorado. But we're trying to develop something new there too. So it's a challenge. How do you expand and go into new facilities while maintaining and doing the most for your main campus? It's a difficult thing, but I would just encourage you, look at every building around you and you're seeing major six-figure type of improvements in every building on campus, except for Philly Hall, which is on the strategic plan. It's a good question.
So, in regards to Colorado, again, could the business classes and such be streamed from here to there so that it counts as online school, and the degree program would be based in Missouri.
Absolutely. So here's the craziness of this. Technically, we are 100% authorized to operate in the state of Colorado through an organization called SARA. We have approval to do that. Students in Colorado can take every single class that Calvary offers. The state is not letting us offer some of those classes in ground yet, just because of this red tape process. It's not that they've told us no, they're just walking us through this process that should take weeks, and it's taken, again, almost years now. We could absolutely push the envelope and just say, forget the CODHE, we're just going to do it. We're just going to launch these classes and have people sitting in the classroom watching live stream classes, and they're online students. Absolutely, we can do that. But we didn't feel that that's the right way to deal with the state. It's kind of following a loophole that is not, it's not the letter of the law, and we're trying to be good neighbors out there and work well to great cost. So we're not willing to have even the appearance of immorality, so to speak, or the appearance of lack of integrity. And so far, that decision has cost us over $1 million. And by the way, I think God honors those kinds of decisions. So technically, we can do it. We're not going to do that yet because we believe the CODHE will soon allow this issue to be resolved.
So when the student body requested that the dorm parking lot be repainted, it wasn't that we couldn't see the lines, it was that the lines were bad, too tight spots, leads to door dings, accidents. Why was it only recovering paint job and not repainted?
That's a good question. So the work that we had done on the parking lot costs about a fifth of what it would cost to just redo everything. It's an overlay that was done. And Randy and his department did a fantastic job of developing a grant to make that happen. But it's just cost. It's one of the challenges of dealing with a 37-acre campus is you're not talking about hundreds or thousands of dollars. You're talking about millions of dollars. And if we were to redo all the parking lots from scratch, we would be talking about $1 million plus. So we had to make decisions about prioritizing dollars and how where we're using those dollars. And just as the overlay that was used is thin, those dollars are thin. So we just had to prioritize. We can't do everything on a 37-acre campus. So I'd like to give you a better answer, but that's just part of the thing. It's like if you have $20 and you've got a month to make that $20 work, you've got to make some hard decisions, and you've got to decide there's some things I want to do that I just can't. It's about priorities. So it's not that we didn't prioritize that space. It's just there are other spaces that needed attention more urgently. Good question. That's tough. It's tough.
You're mentioning money is tight. Is Calvary close to going in debt? And as a follow-up question to that, what's the plan to avoid what happened to Grace University in Nebraska?
So Grace University, I'll answer the second part first. Grace University, as I understand it, as I've talked with administrators and accreditors and others involved, Grace moved away from their core focus. And especially had a focus on athletics and spent millions of dollars developing their athletic program in hopes that it would bring revenue in. Well, unfortunately, that almost never works. Now, Grace has fantastic core programs, but as is so tempting, when you move away from your core of who you are, it usually doesn't work well. And historically, when you look at schools that have done that, they don't exist anymore. So there are a number of cautionary tales out there in schools that you can look at as case studies of how not to pursue sustainability. But for Calvary, mission one is the mission, preparing Christians to live and serve in the church and the world according to the biblical worldview. That is job one. Job 2 is to keep doing the mission, sustainability. And I make a commitment to you, and it's nothing new. We will never switch those two. The moment an entity switches the two and they place their existence over their purpose for existing, they're no longer worth existing. So Calvary has these core commitments, and we will die before we will violate those core commitments. Okay? So that's just the commitment. That's why we started this discussion with commitments. Now, having said that, Calvary's leadership over these 87 years has done a phenomenal job of managing resources, managing debt. There's been times of debt. There's been times where Calvary's been so deep in debt they thought they were going to close. But God has provided, and they've been able to work through that for decades. Any wise business or institution is going to manage debt carefully. You use it you leverage it. Just one example, as those who will one day be homeowners, if you purchase a home and you're paying maybe 3.5% interest on a home over 30 years, okay, maybe 4, and inflation goes over 4%, guess what? You're saving your money. Instead of having a mortgage, you just lost money. So sometimes financing is the wisest way to invest money if you're doing it for the right things. We just purchased, for example, the west side of the campus, right? Calvary's leased that for years. We purchased it, so our outlay is less, and we financed part of it. So we have a note on that. But in the long run, we're going to spend a whole lot less than if we were continuing to lease it. So it's not about not having debt at all. It's about managing it and using it instead of being a slave to it. So Calvary's continues to be very, very careful about that. And as we work ahead, we work with 5-year strategic plans and annual budgets that we think through, and we have to adjust periodically. We're seeing tremendous growth school-wide. Financially, there's growth, but it is not at the same rate as the increase in expenses, which means we have to make cuts here and there. So you're going to see those things here and there, and we try and do that in a way that you feel the least. But there's a tremendous amount of revenue and resources with Calvary. So I think if we're wise with the resources we have, I don't see Calvary's existence being threatened. It's only if we are not wise and if we are unwilling to make difficult decisions that schools like this get into trouble. And sometimes those difficult decisions mean we're going to hold to our core, focus on the core, and get rid of some of the peripheral stuff instead of chasing after the peripheral stuff. So we have a lot of good big brothers and sisters in other schools that we've seen their examples, both positive and negative, and we're fools if we don't learn from them. And I'm really thankful for our board. I'm thankful for our cabinet and our leadership that they get it. And I think we have developed good strategies for making sure that we can do job 2 well, sustainability.
Do you think football would ever be an option for Calvary University? I know it's a big financial investment to start up a football program, but I believe that it would benefit the university for the long run. Football attracts a lot of students to colleges.
I agree with every bit of that. It is so expensive, though. I don't see us going in that direction unless God provided some particular donor who would want to underwrite the launch of that. Once you get it going, it is a financial machine, but that's the danger is chasing those things that aren't in your core. So we want to focus on the core. If God drops an opportunity in our lap, we want to be agile enough to take advantage of it, because it's not our game here. This is trying to do what God has put us here to do, and when He makes clear opportunities, we need to take them. We need to have the agility to be able to do that. But we also don't want to chase after fool's gold. And we already have a great enough team here in Kansas City area that you can just focus on that, right?
Are you talking about the one that lost yesterday? Ouch, that hurt
I won't even answer that.
Okay, so coming.
By the way, just for the record, I was born in the same place that the Kansas City Chiefs were born, in case anybody was wondering that. And can tell me where I was born. pretty close.
So coming from outside the missions department, I feel like they get the short end of the stick on funding. Or at the very least, I believe they could do so much more with just a little more. How does the school decide which degrees to prioritize funding for?
The school doesn't really fund any departments. That may surprise you. The students decide which departments are going to need faculty. If 4 of you register for classes in one department, it's not likely we're going to have that department very long. If 40 of you register for a department, we're going to have to add faculty and add staffing. So it's departments are staffed at a level to meet the requirements and responsibilities of delivering the education, but ultimately you are the ones who determine which departments are big and which ones are not. As for missions is a core priority to us. It's a part of our mission, if I can be redundant, because it's outreach. Every program is missions oriented. And if you were at the President's Dinner or have heard of the cohort program, there's a new and really fantastic donor program where people can come alongside Calvary and help, and every single penny that's donated through that program, 10% of it, go figure, a tenth of a penny, 10% of it goes to the Burnham Missions Fund, which means we're taking 10% of all monies donated through that to make sure we have the missions program developed and staffed, and once it gets up to a point, then those monies are put elsewhere. But we want to make sure that you have missions opportunities no matter what your program is, no matter what your degree program is. So missions will always be a centerpiece for Calvary.
So clarifying question,
Yep.
What does being in the black mean?
Being in the black, you've not heard the song before? No, not that kind of. In the black. So financially, if you are deficit spending, you are in the red, and that's bad. If you have a surplus, you're in the black. And for 3 years straight, Calvary, on its final year, end of year P&L, profit and loss, Calvary's been in the black, which means we have more resources overall than we had expenses. Now, the big challenge that Calvary has and has had every year that I've ever seen records for Calvary is that sometimes those resources come in properties. Like someone donates a property, now that counts as revenue, but it isn't cash. It isn't money to be able to meet specific financial needs. So while Calvary's in the black and we're seeing more and more resources, the liquidity of those resources is very low, okay? Meaning you can't just turn it into cash like that, which makes it really difficult to manage. So that's the financial challenge, is to make sure that your assets are as liquid as they can be so that you can turn it to cash when you need to, and so that you're not spending more than you're taking in, right? It's just simple. You have $20, don't spend 21. If you have $20 and you spend 19, you're in the black. If you have $20 and you spend 21, you're in the red. Make sense?
Where are we? And I know I'm running you short here, but where are we making financial cuts?
Present tense or future tense? So the future tense, we're always examining that. We make a budget. Okay, we do strategic planning. We run through a cycle of assessment all year long. We create a budget based on forecast, what we expect. And then we monitor things. And if we don't have the, whether it's the growth or the revenue that we expect, then we have to make adjustments on the expense side. We're doing that every single day. In fact, that's what I'll be doing this afternoon, looking at those numbers and looking at answers to that question. We have made a lot of cuts across the board that you don't really see. And much of that is made when we go through the budgeting process. Just spending less on items than we might otherwise like to spend. Using a quarter-inch overlay on a parking lot where we'd really like to use a half-inch or start all over, you know. Renovating a building rather than putting in a whole new building. There's hundreds of cuts. Choosing to to be involved in this travel but not that travel, using this vendor and not that vendor, just across the board. It's too numerous to count. I don't have any specifics moving forward. It's just about every day going through that process and assessing. So it's nothing new. It's just something we always have dealt with. The key is to continue growth, maintain momentum, provide the highest quality of service and programs for students while being fiscally responsible. It's a both-and proposition. And it's one of the things I love about leadership is having to do that because it's difficult. It's a challenge.
So the journal was Ijoba?
Yeah.
Ijoba? Okay, so Chris's Stolberg, I think he would be proud of his guess, so I'm going to call him out by name.
Okay, good.
His guess was International Jesus, Octopus, and Basketball Association.
Well, that's the sports league we're starting. It's the same acronym. So you have to pay me $1 million because you were 180 degrees wrong with the answer.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gunn, and thank you guys for the questions. The questions don't stop here.
Yep, I'll answer them all.
Just say, you don't even just have to say, oh, there's the town hall. I'll wait till next semester to ask more questions. You're always welcome to bring questions to the leadership here. So I want to pray for us.
Fantastic.
And then I've been told that the freshman class need to stay for, I was told, like 2 minutes. So if it's more than 2 minutes, don't hold it against me. I'm just the messenger, all right? So let's pray, and then we'll be dismissed, except for the freshman class. Father, we love you so much, and God, I thank you so much for Calvary University. I thank you for the blessing that it has proven to be to me personally, and I thank you for the students who are able to partake in the fruit that Calvary is producing. And I ask, Father, that you would bless this school, that you would bless these students, that you would give wisdom to us all, that you would give us all strength to accomplish the tasks that you've laid before us. And God, I thank you for your grace, and I ask, Father, that you would bless this food that we're about to partake in. We thank you for the riches you've given us that we can eat as we do, and just very grateful for you and for your grace that you show us every day. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Freshman class, stick around.